Today, we have a timely reminder that it's really important to use strong passwords on our devices and our online accounts. With me now, with some simple tips to staying safe online, is cybersecurity expert and computer scientist, Junade Ali. Morning, Junade.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Hello, I'm really well. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I haven't accidentally knocked over my coffee this morning, so that's always a good
Great.
sign.
That's a win. That is a win. If you are listening at the moment and you're thinking, great, I'm happy that Junaid is here. He's a cybersecurity expert, and I am someone who has the same password for everything. That to you, Junaid, if someone was to say that to you, is that in your line of work just a nightmare to hear?
Yeah, although we've been through this massive kind of learning process in the cybersecurity community. So one of the things which a few years ago I worked on was actually kind of inventing the technology that allowed people to know if their password was in a data breach without them needing it to send it to a third party. And I had to go around and convince the industry to change away from these practices, because what we were seeing was these things called credential stuffing attacks. And what they meant is that people would be able to, if a password was compromised for one site, attackers would be able to reuse the same password and compromise everyone's
Oh,
account. So, the one account you used to, I don't know, order pineapple pizza could then be used to hijack your bank account. So
yeah.
really moving away to people adopting practices like using unique passwords for each site. So this new research we see from the Institution of Engineering and Technology, one of the kind of concerning statistics in there is that only 1 in 5 people, so 20% of people, are able to correctly identify a secure password over one that has been compromised.
And I think you're completely right as well. You make a really good point. You don't want to be the person who's compromised everyone else. If not just from a shame angle, you've got to sort out your passwords. What are the biggest things that we should be looking out for just in our day to day lives when it comes to our personal passwords? Because quite frankly, I think there's a lot of my passwords that I don't remember, Sinead, because my phone uses the face recognition now. And I honestly, if you asked me for it, I don't think I'd remember what it was.
Definitely, yeah. So there's kind of three key tips which I guess people can bear in mind. The first one is when you do need to set passwords, ideally use randomly generated long unique passwords for each site. It's safer to use something like three random words than a short password with lots of letters and numbers. In general, longer is better, basically, when it comes to passwords. So. One of the challenges which kind of dovetails into the second tip is ideally use a password manager to store your passwords for you and tell you if they've been in a data breach, and also allows you to randomly generate your passwords. That means you only need to remember one password, because all the others will be kind of stored and encrypted in that vault. So password managers, there's lots which are available. There's some which are built into web browsers, some which are built into your phone and things like that. So lots of options out there. But if you have, for example, a relative who might not be able to use a password manager, it's often more secure, for instance, for them to even write down their passwords in a notebook rather than be in a situation where they reuse the same password for multiple sites. And that's actually one of the interesting things we see in the data. 65% of people think passwords should never be written down, but in some instances it can make a lot of sense to do that. And Also, with that, another interesting statistic is 77% of people seem to think that changing passwords regularly makes them more secure, but actually the National Cybersecurity Centre recommends against kind of these mandated password change rules now. So that's tip number two. And then the third tip is, where possible, enable two-factor authentication. So this is where you get a code to log in. So it's not just something you know, but it's also something you have. The app-based solutions are more secure than getting it over SMS text message, but something is better than nothing. So kind of the three tips, I guess, are: first is longer is better when it comes to passwords. Second tip, use a password manager. And then the third tip is enable two-factor authentication where possible.
Good tips, actually, Junaid, and they're all really doable, aren't they? They're all things that actually it'll take you a little bit of time to set up, but then in the long run will be good for you and will stop these hackers from getting into everything. Junaid, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Junaid Ali, their cybersecurity expert and computer scientist, with his top tips on stopping